So everyone knows that Tesla will be announcing its earnings after the close of the bell, January 24, 2024. However, the question on everyone's mind is, what will the price action for Tesla look like after the earnings announcements? However, one of the things I often say on this channel is that there's a lot of nuance in regards to earnings, as it's not just the earnings report, but also the forward guidance. And so in this video, I want to go ahead and highlight what are some of the predictions floating out there in terms of what Wall Street is looking for Tesla, as well as also just highlight some of my predictions and commentary for Tesla and what I see taking place with the price action. And so I want to start this video off by highlighting this tweet I shared on x.com saying how the Wall Street consensus for revenue in Q4 is $25.64 billion. And so if Tesla could reach $25 billion in revenue, it would be a new quarterly record for the company. I also shared how Wall Street's forecasting a Q4 earnings per share of 74 cents per share. And so this means that Wall Street is looking for revenue to go up 6.4% year over year, while also seeing earnings per share down 32% year over year. However, I ended the tweet saying how all eyes will be on the 2024 guidance and whether Musk will continue cutting vehicle prices. Now, there was someone who did respond to this tweet, and one of the things he ended up saying was pretty interesting, because he said it's a lose-lose situation, because if the guidance that we get for 2024 is below expectations in terms of vehicle deliveries, Wall Street is going to crush Tesla. However, if the guidance is above expectations, it means that Tesla will continue cutting prices to further increase demand, and Wall Street will again crush Tesla. So pretty interesting how someone is kind of labeling this a lose-lose situation, and that's something that I want to go ahead and talk about, right? So one of the things I often like doing before earnings is kind of doing a option pricing analysis to kind of go ahead and see what we could possibly see for price action after the earnings. And this is a very simple formula everyone can do to kind of get a guesstimate of what the price action will be. Now, it doesn't tell you if it's up or down. Of course, that's going to be determined on what the earnings and the forward guidance is, but it kind of gives us a close reference to what we could possibly see. And so there's many ways to go ahead and kind of predict the price action going up or down, like the move. You could look at historical figures. That's what some firms use, or you could just kind of do a technical approach. But we're going to look at option pricing, and this is very simple to do. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this for you guys. So first off, you're going to want to look at the closing price for today. So today we closed at around $209.15 per share. So you're going to want to pull out a calculator. Make sure it's a scientific calculator. And what you're going to want to start off by doing is just simply 2 divided by 365 days. And the reason why we're doing 2 divided by 365 days is because we're looking at the price action after their earnings. So we're looking 2 days from now. So you get this number right here. Then you're going to square root it, and then you end up getting this number right here. You're going to multiply that by pretty much the price that we closed for today, which is $209.15. You get this number right here, but that's not quite the number, because lastly, you're going to want to go to the options chain and look for the at-the-money calls and look at the implied volatility. It looks like it's saying 97.43%. So what you're going to do is just multiply this by 0.9743%, or I'm sorry, yeah, 43%, and you end up getting $15.08. So the implied move based on option pricing is that Tesla could go ahead after the earnings, move about $15.08. And so $15.08, that would put us at around, let's go ahead and map this out, around almost like $224 from where we're at now. And that it is, I believe that's like a, let's go ahead and look at it, kind of like a 7% move up, or I believe it's 7% move down. That would be like 194. Yeah, so around 7% move up or down. Now, of course, this is not going to be accurate all the time. It's just kind of like a guesstimate that you could simply do. Again, there's different ways to do this. You could look at historical moves, right? I think last earnings we moved up $10, around like $10 to $13. But this is kind of saying that it's going to move $15. So pretty interesting. But one of the things I want to highlight is that if we fall down, let's say earnings are bad, because again, we may be in that lose-lose situation like someone commented, Well, if we see Tesla go down to that 194 area, that's kind of like right around right over here. And what's interesting about that price level is that that's where we have a lot of volume relative to price. And in the past, that was kind of like a support and also a resistance as well. So we may see Tesla hold up from there. But if we see Tesla fall down to that level after earnings and then continue falling down, well, that could spell disaster for Tesla, as we may end up filling these gaps that we had in the past, such as the gap right over here, and then, of course, the gap right around over here at the $145 area. Now, of course, again, this is all based on what we hear from the forward guidance, and are we going to hear Elon Musk basically cry on this earnings call like we did in the last one? The last one was honestly very difficult to listen to. If you guys listen to it, then you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. There's some speculation that Elon Musk may not even be on this earnings call. I doubt that. I think this is a very pivotal one. We're going to want to hear updates on the Cybertruck. We're going to want to hear updates on Optimus, and of course, what we see for actual EV deliveries going into 2024. Now, I really quickly just want to also highlight something. So, we heard in the past that Tesla said the 2024 outlook is in the last earnings call. We heard Elon Musk say that it's not possible to have a compound growth rate of 50% forever, or you will exceed the mass of the known universe. Meaning that it's not, you can't just have a company go 50% forever as far as compound growth rate. But honestly, again, I agree. You can't have that. You can't have any number go up forever, right? But Tesla has been doing pretty well in terms of delivery year over year. I made this graph that I shared on X.com highlighting how Tesla's car deliveries over time from 2013 to 2023 had a compound average growth rate of 55.1%. So Tesla has been kind of sticking to its word of growing at this 50% compound growth rate. But the question is, will that take place again, right? I believe that this number is likely to fall down, possibly even below 50%. And I think that, of course, that's going to be something that Wall Street is looking to crush Tesla if that does end up happening. But I don't think it's a bad thing. Of course, we want to see growth continue, but I honestly think that if Tesla can increase, it's kind of like its space in the AI sector, in the robotics sector, then honestly, car deliveries is just a small portion. Now, of course, there's a lot of debate on whether or not Tesla will actually achieve that, as every single year for the earnings we hear Elon Musk say that this is the year that fully self-driving will actually be out of beta version and actually be something that could be used, right? And that people could have robo-taxis within the next couple of years. Now, maybe this is the first earnings call where we don't hear that, and maybe this is going to be the first year where we do actually achieve that. I know we just rolled out the last version of FSD, and there's been a lot of good news around it, a lot of good reports on how there's minimal intervention with the steering wheel, and that you can honestly go from point A to point B or point A to point Z without having to even touch the steering wheel. So that's great. We want to hear more updates on that. And of course, the Optimus robots. I know in one of the previous earnings calls, it was pretty disappointing. We heard that they only made a few of them as it was hard to source the parts. And so I want to hear more updates on that, because I'm very optimistic on Tesla from the robotics standpoint, as Tesla is catching up to other robotic companies. There's other companies such as Boston Dynamics who've been at it for a long time, and Tesla is catching up fairly quickly. And so that's kind of why a lot of individuals invest in Tesla in the long term. It's the idea that, yeah, you're kind of taking a chance on, maybe this not coming into fruition with the AI developments and the robotic developments. But if you could go ahead and find this low price for Tesla, because people aren't underwriting that, because again, you can't really underwrite that into the price of Tesla just yet. You can't really underwrite the benefits of having a robot that could do your laundry when there's no robots out there, or FSD subscriptions. Like when we have a very low take rate, we don't have robo-taxis out yet, so it's hard to write that in. But the idea that a lot of long-term investors have is that, well, okay, we're taking kind of this bet that this will be achieved within the next decade. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm bullish for Tesla in the long term. Now, I want to clarify for those that are new to the channel, I am a long-term investor, and also a short-term trader. And I know that almost sounds like an oxymoron. How can you do both? But I always say that you want to be very specific and know what you're doing when you're participating in the markets. Far often, too many times, I see people say that they're investors, but then they're trading and they're going in and out. They don't know what they're doing. And so what I like to do is I keep a long-term portfolio where I do have exposure to Tesla in the long term. I do want to disclose that. So if anyone says, oh, he's kind of biased, well, I mean, I do have Tesla in my long-term portfolio. I have exposure to it, and I'm still bullish on Tesla for the long term, although I do believe we're going to experience much more pain pretty soon. But again, I'm optimistic for Tesla in the long term, and if we do experience some pain, that's kind of like an area for me to go ahead and scoop up some more shares for the long term. And so that's my long term portfolio. I have Tesla as well as a lot of exposure to pretty much the index ETFs. I'm not really one of those stock pickers where my portfolio is just a whole bunch of stocks. I'm kind of a strong believer of just sticking with the index funds, although I do have some individual stocks like Tesla, Spotify is one. I believe Spotify just actually hit new all-time highs, if I'm not, yep, it did. I believe it just did. And then also I have Nvidia on my long-term portfolio, which also just recently hit new all-time highs. So I have exposure to these names in the long term, but pretty much everything else is index funds. But I also have a short-term trading account where that account is separate. That's an account where I specifically do trades, and I highlight trades for those within the Push and Profit private group every single day the markets are open with trade ideas. And so if you're interested in joining that group, check out one of the links in the description below. And pretty much just want to know what you guys think about Tesla going into the future. Regardless if you're trading or investing, of course, at least hopefully you know what you're doing in the markets. Don't be someone who doesn't know if they're investing or trading. But if you know what you're doing and what your goal is, I'm just interested to hear what your thoughts are as far as what you believe could happen after the earnings, and what are your goals afterwards. With that said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. But before you guys go, consider checking out this next video right over here where I break down the 3 stages of a reversal so that you could go ahead and find out how to take advantage of opportunities using this specific method. See you guys on that next video.